This isn't science fiction. It's Mary Kennedy Thompson's bold vision for the future of business networking.
I'm transparent, kind, and direct. And I was ready to control my own destiny and get into business. For every dollar that one of our members spends in dues, they get $83 in closed business. I actually am a licensed plumber.
I wish you were in Miami right now, Mary. I have an apartment above the condo I live in that has a leaky toilet, and they can't seem to find a good plumber.
How can I help you with your business? My why is to inspire business leaders to reach their hopes, wishes, dreams, and goals beyond their wildest imagination. And I get to do that every single day here.
Don't just be successful, be significant. Imagine a world where your professional network grows for you, anticipating your needs and connecting you with the exact people, opportunities, and insights you need at precisely the right time. This isn't science fiction. It's Mary Kennedy Thompson's bold vision for the future of business networking. I'm Marty Davis, business lawyer, connector, entrepreneur, and host of this podcast. Today, the Marty Davis Show, we're diving into the global revolution of connection with Mary Kennedy Thompson, CEO of Business Network International, the world's largest business networking organization, uniting over 320,000 members worldwide and generating billions in business through the power of meaningful relationships. We're broadcasting today from the stunning Mondrian Hotel on Biscayne Bay, South Beach's vibrant spot for luxury stays, waterfront views, and the iconic Bahia Beach Club. We're happy to have you, Mary. Thank you so much. For those who don't know you yet, can you tell us who is Mary Kennedy Thompson in a few sentences, and what are the top 3 words that describe you best?
Well, first of all, Marty, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I love having a conversation about networking. We talk about it all day long. And one thing I want to point out, you said we have 320,000 members. I'm happy to report we have 346,000 members. So we've been growing nicely throughout the year. I just thought I'd share that little tidbit of information.
Excellent.
And so I love that question you asked me. I've been in franchising for 30 years, and my specialty is high growth companies. The last 3 companies that I've run, I've had a 10x growth in 9 years or less. I'm a big believer that how you grow a company is how you grow your culture, that they go hand in hand. And when you asked me in 3 words to describe myself, I would say long ago I thought about how I wanted people to feel and experience me when I communicate. And I came to 3 words that I'm transparent, kind, and direct. And that's how I interact with people, transparently, with kindness and directness, because there's a lot to be said for not making people work too hard to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. That's great. I like that. You come from a truly unique background. You said you've been in franchising for a lot of years, but I understand you were also in the U.S. Marine Corps. What inspired that transition? And how did your time in the Marine Corps shape the way you lead today?
Well, it was my honor to get to serve in the Marine Corps. I got to serve as a Marine Corps officer for 8 years. I went into the military because I grew up as a child with a parent. My father was in the Army, and I never considered anything else. And I loved every minute of serving our country. I got to do cool and interesting things like jump out of airplanes and rappel out of helicopters and travel the world over and learn how to lead people in stressful situations. It has served me very well throughout my entire career. And what happened was we had children, and we wanted to get them settled in the community. And we knew that if we stayed in the military, and particularly in the Marine Corps, we'd have a hard time doing that. And I really wanted to create an environment for our children where they could thrive and grow. And I was ready to control my own destiny and get into business.
Very good. Well, thank you for your service. And how many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
Very good.
Son and a daughter.
Are they following in the BNI tradition?
No, it's funny because I knew my children would never be in the military. That just wasn't in their DNA and their makeup. I have one child who is in security and another child who in the finance world, and she's got a head for numbers, and she's very good at what she does and manages a large team on the finance team. And I'm very proud of both of them for what they do.
Well, congratulations. That's a success story. Have your military values and discipline influenced your approach to leadership, teamwork, and growth in the business world?
I enjoy having some people on my team that have been in the military because there are a number of things that they understand. First of all, you get a lot of responsibility early on. You understand what true commitment is. I joke about this, but it's true. It's one of the few people that can put on their resume they're willing to take a bullet for their prior employer. When you sign on the dotted line, you really are signing on the dotted line. And you can have sergeants and corporals and lieutenants and captains that have been in charge of big groups of people and millions of dollars worth of equipment in serious situations. And so they know how to handle stress well and they understand what real commitment is. And so for me, it taught me as a leader how to manage my leadership practice in a very steady state, to not get too excited about things, to help others not get too excited, but to also, when you do get them excited, it's about inspiring them and helping them see how tomorrow can be bigger than today and how they get to fit into that future.
Oh, that's great. And I am sure an amazing teacher. I've been learning along the way. I've been a member of BNI for 22 years and here in Miami. But for those who are not familiar, what exactly is BNI and what's it stand for? And most importantly, what's the real value new members get when they join?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your longstanding loyalty to BNI, Marty. You are a remarkable member, and we love having you part of our BNI community. So BNI stands for Business Network International. We're kind of like IBM. IBM says we're IBM, which stands for International Business Machines, but they never lead with saying International Business Machines. We just say we're BNI. We are all about networking. We are the world's largest business referral networking organization. And for every dollar that one of our members spends in dues, they get $83 in closed business. When you think about, if you were to think about joining BNI, there are some peer-to-peer networks that are transformational, where you have a mastermind group or a group of people that help you be better and grow, which is very important. I've belonged to groups like that throughout my entire career. And there are some groups that are transactional, where you get leads. You might join a chamber of commerce because you're looking to build business. What I love about BNI is we are both. So you get into a group, you're in a chapter with about 40 people in it. There's only one person from each industry, so you do not have a competitor in your chapter. The referrals, what most people call leads, we call referrals. The referrals that come to you from your members within your chapter, they're like an extra salesperson for you because they're looking for ways to send business your way. And you meet every single week because the discipline of meeting weekly and sharing that information and talking about your ideal referral and what you're looking for creates this great opportunity for referrals between one another. And because you meet every week, you also get to know people really well, and you become better at what you do because you have this mastermind group who says, have you considered this? Have you considered that? Plus, you have this group of people who are sending you business on a regular basis, who see you as almost as a business partner in what they're doing.
Yes, I know we think of our chapter as family, as our sales team, and it's so unique. I recently had a challenge in court, and I had 8 members of our BNI chapter testifying on various issues in that court case for my client. It was pretty amazing. So it works, and it works on many levels.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a member who joined right before COVID hit. And he joined about maybe 2 or 3 months before COVID hit. And COVID about took his business out. And he said he was on a meeting, and he told the chapter, I think this might be my last meeting. I think I'm going to have to shut down. And the chapter said, oh, no, we're not going to allow that. Let's sit down and let's talk about how we can help save your business, how we can send business your way. And they worked with him until he was on the other side of it. And he said, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for my chapter. And then there's
Yeah.
something as big as that. And then I'm a member. I belong to a chapter here in Charlotte, which is where our global headquarters is. And I remember, I'm fairly new to the town, or I was a year and a half ago, and I had an issue with one of my tires, and I just said, "Does anybody know?" And within minutes, I had, "Here's who you go to. Here's who's going to take care of you. Here's this information." It's amazing, this group of people who care about you personally and professionally, and help you take your business to the next level.
Yeah, it's a special relationship for sure. You said that you're new at this role at BNI. What excites you most about leading such a massive global community of entrepreneurs and business owners?
Well, I'm not new to BNI. I actually was a BNI member back in 1994. I owned multiple bakeries across Austin, Texas, and my insurance agent invited me, and I met this new VP of a little company called Dell Computers. Back then, they had just moved into their first new big building, and they said, every time we launch a product, we'd like to give some of your product as gifts. And I was like, sure, that's cool. Ended up being a very big referral for me and a good part of my business, and helped me grow my business nicely. So I've always believed in BNI. And after I sold my businesses, I would tell people, this is something I think you should consider joining. When I was considering this role, I had spent the last 18 years in home services. And I actually am a licensed plumber, and had led the largest brand at Neighborly, which is the world's largest home services company, for 9 of those years. And I had become the chief operating officer of the parent company. And really, it's just a company I love and have always loved. And I had not considered being a CEO. And BNI reached out to me and they said, we've been searching and we think you're the right person. And I said, well, let's have conversations. Let me look at the people and the data and information. And one day it hit me like a thunderbolt. I had a friend say to me, it's time for you to move from success to significance. You have something to give back. And in looking at the opportunities that lay before BNI, I believed I could be of service to this company and help. We've grown every year at BNI for 41 years, every single year. And yet we have barely scratched the surface. When you look at how many small businesses there are across the globe, our vision is very, very clear: to change the way the world does business. And it's not the politicians that will bring the world together. It's the business people, because they want to create business across their community, their town, their state, their nation, the globe.
And the
so what excited me was that I could help make a difference in growing our members' businesses and making it better for them. And if you've ever read Simon Sinek's book, First Start With Why, it was a good book for me. And I did a couple of his seminars, and you understand your why statement. Like, why are you here? Why are you here? What are you here to do? And my why is to inspire business leaders to reach their hopes, wishes, dreams, and goals beyond their wildest imagination. And I get to do that every single day here. And so it fills my passion bucket. I'm getting to make a difference in serving others and helping change the way the world does business. And there's really nothing better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're certainly reaching significance over success. I love that, because my alma mater is Stetson University. And our motto is, don't just be successful, be significant. And because it means so much more. Your why is similar to mine. Mine's on a little lesser degree, but I love putting people together. It's one of the reasons we do this podcast, to share the stories, the insights of successful people to help others and to help us grow. We had the global leader for innovation for UPS on this morning, and talking about tariffs and setting up AI help with logistics in moving the billions of packages that they do every year. So where else would you have the opportunity to get the insight from someone like he or you, except on a podcast like this? So it's all good. And I wish you were in Miami right now, Mary. I have an apartment above the condo I live in that has a leaky toilet, and they can't seem to find a good plumber. So I have a ceiling falling out.
Dangerous.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
But I appreciate that.
I spent time earning my plumbing license because I thought that it was important as I led that organization to understand what our front line was going through. And it gave me a newfound respect for our plumbers. And that's why I'm a member of a chapter. I think as a leader, you must make a point to experience what your customers are experiencing. I tell everybody, if I ran a hamburger company, I'd eat a hamburger every day. Thank goodness I don't, because it would not be good for my waistline. But I think it's important not to forget where our customer is, what they're experiencing, and how we affect their life in all the different ways.
I think that's similar for most successful people. They did start on the ground floor, understanding what the customer really needed, as did Chris Rubio at UPS. He used to drive a truck delivering packages. So good advice. The world of business is changing fast. Digital networking, remote work, and now AI are reshaping how we connect. How do you see BNI's role evolving in this new landscape? And how can your entrepreneurs leverage those tools to build authentic and lasting relationships?
Well, it's interesting. I believe there's a lot happening in the world that, things are like a pendulum. You swing way over here, and then the reaction is you swing back. And, I'm a big fan of AI. I use it regularly. We're implementing AI within BNI and helping our members use AI, because the small business person doesn't in every way. Some of them, they're afraid of it. Some of it, they don't know where to go. So we are doing a lot to work with our members to help them have tools to use for AI that can help them with their businesses. And we're going to use AI, and we have a program that we just finished building, which will connect members, go through the macro data, and be able to connect members to who their best referrals are. But there was a really good book called The Relationship Economy by John Julius, and it talks about as we have this digital connectivity, we need to not confuse it with the human connection, because as there's this prolific AI, robotic, online interactions, that capacity to form human relationships is going to be an essential business skill. It's going to be absolutely important. And Forbes did a great article about a year and a half ago about the rise of the relationship economy and which companies have the best qualities that will benefit from that. And it's about prioritizing the customer experience, putting customer satisfaction first, having transparency and a set of values and a sense of connection, and having brand ambassadors and creating a positive impact. And so what's happening is all of the AI and the digital, that's important, and it's going to make the in-person contact even more essential to what people are doing. And especially the millennials who are getting into small business ownership, that are looking for ways to connect, both to connect so they have a mastermind group, but also to connect to grow their business, because digital marketing costs have gone up more than 40% each year for the last 3 years within the trades alone. And they're looking for ways to have effective marketing. This is a very good way to do it, because you have this, and you said it yourself, Marty, you have this sales force that's out there saying, hey, you need to use this business. I know them, I trust them, and I've had a good experience. And the referrals are one of the best ways to get business, and one of the ways that are most often going to translate to real business.
Sure. It's a human giving a review to another human, which has a lot more credibility than what you might read on social media these days. So
Yes.
I'm with you.
Just to finish that thought, I think about, in 1950, if I was looking for a plumber, I probably stood at my back fence and asked my neighbor, who do you use? And then by, 1995, I was getting on a computer and, starting to look, and then, doing, saying, find me a local company. And now what's happening is I'm coming back to, I would like to, everything from Google reviews. There's a reason why those are so important, because people are like, I don't just want to be served up a company. I want to know they're going to take good care of me. And that's where BNI comes in very handy, because if you know me and I'm the plumber that you've worked with and you've sent other people to, you can tell your friends and family, I've used Mary the plumber. She's really good. She fixes the problem. She's honest. She's straightforward, and I recommend her. And so it's like the over the fence, but multiplied out by 40 or more.
Right. And it's even more than just over the fence. It's kind of like the relative staying with you as opposed to the next door neighbor, because we're going to see that member every week. And if that
Yes.
referral wasn't good or they did a bad job, they've got to look to us to explain. And I think the accountability is there, and it's a wonderful thing. Things happen, but it's great to have someone who there can fix it if it does happen and does go awry. It's a great plan. I'm a firm believer in BNI, and there's nothing that compares to it. I chair the board of a chamber of commerce in Miami, which I think is vital to business, but it's not the same as BNI. I'm a huge believer that you need to belong to a chamber, a BNI, and then some type of organization that supports a cause that you believe in, whether it's religious, animals, a disease, whatever, because I think all those things are important for rounding out our things. When I say those things, what are your response to that? And do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I completely agree with you. I always, when I had my businesses, I always joined a chamber as well, and it's important too. I think those three things are brilliant that you say, because you always want to give back and join something that is meaningful
Sure.
to you, that is giving back to the community in a way that's meaningful to you. And if you look at those three that you're talking about, for BNI, the magic of BNI is the discipline of the weekly meeting. And I love what Zig Ziglar once said, that motivation is temporary, but so is bathing. It's something you have to do on a regular basis. And the difference between going to a BNI chapter and a chamber, both are important. Is at the BNI meeting, I've got my name tag on. It says what I do. We take networking as a science. There's a science, so there's an art and a science to networking. And most people only think there's an art, and they don't know how to practice either. So if you're not a good artist, some people are not natural artists, but you can be a scientist with the right formula. And so we put the right formula in place to help you understand the science of networking. That is, you need to be very specific about how you ask for a referral. You need to be brave enough to say to somebody, I'm looking for this type of business. If and you also, part of the science of networking, and it's the essence of our value, our top value, which is givers gain, is to say, how can I help you with your business? What can I do for you? And that is a great way to open the door. And so we teach that. And then you can take that science and some of the art of networking and bring it to your chamber mixer and really get a whole lot more out of your chamber and what you're doing in the day in and day out. And also use it to help grow those special causes that are important to you, to bring people together. Every one of our chapters has a seat for a charity, and you can bring your charity in as well and help them grow. So I think those work hand in hand. And what I encourage people is learn the science of networking, make sure you understand how to do it, and then do it across multiple platforms, to include the ones that you talked about.
It's been so rewarding for me. So I am excited about you expanding what we've been doing and bringing it forward with AI and the additional things that you're planning on doing. And as this grows, I think we're in 70 plus countries, thousands of chapters. 76.
To be exact.
Okay. And as you said, connections are the heart of BNI. What are the top strategies to foster trust, collaboration, and real results among members worldwide?
First of all, the first thing, and I talked about it just a bit ago, when you want to foster trust and have cooperation and start collaborating with others and get referrals, you start by what you can give before you start worrying about what you're going to get. So when you're working with other people, figure out what you can do for them first. That is the first step in building any kind of relationship that's going to be mutually beneficial. And it's surprising how fast that will come back to you. And then there's a great book, one of my favorite reads. I always recommend all leaders read it, by Stephen Covey, called The Speed of Trust. And in The Speed of Trust, it talks about how you build credibility. There are 4 pillars to it. There's integrity, intention, capability, and results. And how you are going to build your business, both in who your customers are and what they think of you, who your team is and what they think of you, and how they interact, is in those 4 ways. That, on the integrity side, you mean what you say what you mean. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, and you do what you say you're going to do, and you're congruent. You're the same person across the parts of your life. Your business is the customers that have a good and great experience across all parts of your business. Then on the intention is that you state your intentions, and that your intentions are to seek someone's greatest good, and that you mean them no harm, that you really focus on how, again, that giver's gain. What can I do for you first before I'm ever going to ask you to do anything? What can I give first? And then on capabilities is, are you growing yourself? Sometimes I've had leaders ask me, well, what if my business outgrows me? And I always smile and say, your business isn't going to outgrow you, because it's only going to grow as fast as you can grow yourself. So you need to spend time. One of our values is being a lifelong learner. You need to be a lifelong learner. You need to encourage that those on your team are lifelong learners, and set up a system for doing that. And then lastly, when you want to get that business, you want those referrals that people trust you, are you creating the results? If you say you're going to do what you're going to do you do it? And do you do it all of the time, not part of the time, not just when it's convenient, but all of the time? If you do those, the referrals will come in. People will want to do business. People do business, people they know and like and trust. And that's how you do it.
Great advice. And I'm hoping that every new member for BNI hears that, because it's just what they need to do. And you're going to be a success. We talk about the seat in our chapter is worth $85,000 to $90,000. And
Yes.
For visitors, where else can you make that kind of money for the amount of time to spend and the dollar investment? The return on investment is not comparable to anything else. It's far exceeds everything. I love the program. I'm a cheerleader. I'm a cheerleader.
You said it so beautifully. And, I always tell people, if you tell me that these 3 things are important to you, show me on your calendar that you mean it.
That's
so
right.
If you tell me your family's important, you show me on your calendar where you have time blocked out to spend time with them. If you tell me growing your business and getting more business is important, show me on your calendar where you're spending time networking to grow your business. And if you're not spending the time, you may be saying it, but you don't mean it.
That's right. Yeah. Whew. Glad that's on my calendar. Looking ahead, Mary, what are your goals for the next 5 years, both personally and for BNI?
I'll start with BNI. I'd like to get BNI to 1 million members. The reason for that is we're kind of the best kept secret out there. People will say, well, tell me about BNI. I'm sure you've experienced that. And we're amazing. There's so many great things we do for small businesses. And, our vision is to change the way the world does business. Part of that is going to be, bringing in members. If we know and we believe, which I know and believe, that when someone joins a chapter, they grow their business and they have a better business experience, then I want to bring as many in as possible, because I do want to change the way the world does business. I want to, one of our goals is to amplify the BNI brand and community by, taking all our members. And, we're global. We are local, and we also are global. And so how do we make sure that we're interacting locally and making that very meaningful, but also enabling and energizing the globalness of who we are? Everybody nowadays is talking about AI. I believe, and we partnered with a company, that we're going to be able to bring AI tools both to our system as a whole and to our members, that they'll be able to use to help them grow their businesses. When you're a small business, you don't have usually the resources or the option to hire a big AI company to tell you how to do it. We're putting some some tools together that our members will be able to use to help grow their businesses. And that excites me quite a bit. And then lastly, we like to make sure that our company is tech enabled. We have the BNI Connect app, which is wonderful and is a great tool. And there's so many more things we can do with it to help our members connect with one another faster and send business to one another faster. So that's on the BNI side. On the personal side, I want to make a difference. My husband and I have a foundation. Our foundation is called Graceful Giving, and we give to education and to child abuse prevention. My husband is a district attorney, so that's a subject that's always been near and dear to our heart. And then veterans and first responders, so we can help people grow and build a life for themselves. And so that's important to us. And I have two amazing grandsons, and I intend to be, as always, very involved in their life. There was a great study done a number of years ago on self-confidence, and they were trying to find common denominators for people who had good self-confidence. And the one thing they found was people who had a good sense of self-confidence and sense of self, they had at least one close relationship with a grandparent. And I'm going to make sure that my grandsons have good self-confidence because they're the future. And I want to make sure that I leave this world in a better place.
Admirable. That's all good. Where do you see the future of business networking heading?
I think it's going to grow a lot. And I'm not saying that because I'm the CEO of BNI. What I'm seeing, a lot of organizations are coming to us, big organizations with sales forces or with franchise owners or with businesses that are saying, show us how to do a better job networking. We don't know how. We know how to do all the technical stuff over here, but we don't know how to do this. I believe there's a collective awakening that's happening where, just like when I was talking earlier about the rise of the relationship economy, that as digital grows, and it's always going to have an important place, that the need for being able to have that human connection is going to become even more important, and people are going to need to learn to be trained to it. And we're uniquely qualified to do that. And I think peer-to-peer networks and ways to connect with other people are going to continue to grow and be important to people. AI is going to help some people with very small teams become very, very big companies quickly, and they're going to want to know how to connect on the global scale and on one-to-one as well.
I know I get business from the UK, from France, Belgium, and I have a new client in Australia, all through BNI, visiting other BNI chapters, because you have an opportunity to share what you do in an area that people are moving. We're fortunate to live in Miami, where lots of people like to come and want to do business here. So it's been a great opportunity for me, as it is for lots of places and lots of people if they utilize it. I try and go to a BNI chapter if I'm traveling, because it's fun to see other people and how they do things. And seeing the similarity on how the meetings are run, on how people, as you mentioned before, with the name tags and talking about BNI values. So it's all important. I think it's growing.
It is growing. We've had a great year, and I think we'll continue to. There's a lot of tailwinds that are helping with that. And we're excited. I'll leave you with this thought, Marty. I shared with you that my why is to inspire business leaders to reach their hopes, wishes, dreams, and goals beyond their wildest imagination. The word inspire has always been a very important word to me. One of my degrees is in English, so I always like to understand the roots of words. The Latin root of the word inspire means to breathe life into. And I really believe we want to change the way the world does business. If we want to connect with people, inspiring one another, breathing life into one another is critically important. There's really probably not much more I can think of that is as important as we serve one another. And so my goal is to get us out there, to be inspiring one another, to breathe life into one another, to help grow businesses so we can create more jobs and create healthier economies and build families through building businesses.
Well, I think it's a great goal. I know I want to be here when you get that 1 million members, and I think you're going to be able to do it.
Together,
Mary,
we will. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. That confidence is there. So in the ability as well, I'm sure. At the end of each podcast, I'll enjoy doing kind of a rapid fire round where I'll ask a question. You tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. This way, people get to know you a little better and kind of your philosophy, even more than what we've talked about?
I'm ready.
Answer quickly, no overthinking. What's your secret talent?
Reading people.
What's the best referral you've ever received? You may have already told us.
Was the one I got at BNI in 1995 for Dell Computers.
Dell Computers, that's what I thought. Talk about being at the right place at the right time with the right people.
Yes.
Where's your go-to getaway place?
My home. I love being home with my family. I'm from a very large family, and having family around me is very important. And I have built my home over the years to be a place that feels like I'm away from it all. We live on a beautiful lake out on a point, and I can watch. I'm an early riser. I can watch the sunrise and meditate and think about the day and be very thoughtful about how I am going to take the day, and while also having my family around me.
That's great. That was my next question that you've already answered. You're a morning person, so that's great.
Yes.
What's your guilty pleasure when you finally take a break?
I like to go for very long, slow runs. Slow is the operative word. I hesitate to even call it a run. I'm very slow, but there's something, it takes a long time for me to, do something that's 6 or 7 miles, but just to put on a good pair of running shoes, have an open trail, put a thought in my head that I want to ruminate on, and just, I oftentimes don't even, sometimes I'll do an audiobook, but sometimes I don't even have a headset in. I just want to be alone in my thoughts while I'm moving.
And be present right then. I'm sure that's helpful. Well, Mary, I want to thank you for being on our podcast. Mary Kennedy Thompson, a Marine veteran, franchise pioneer, and now the driving force behind the world's largest business network, reminds us that true success isn't about titles. It's about impact. It's about significance. Her story proves that with courage, connection, and community, anyone can build a legacy that lasts. Until next time, I'm Marty Davis, reminding you that in business and in life, the strongest network always wins. Mary, thank you so much for being here and taking the time. It's an honor to meet you. And I'm even more enthused about BNI with you at our helm.
You asked amazingly good questions, Marty. Thank you. This was a ton of fun.
Well, I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. All right, have a good afternoon.
You too, sir. Ciao.
Bye-bye.